Kevin Hayes left practice early? Is there any status on him?
He's being evaluated for an upper body injury.
He was injured on a collision there. To the naked eye, the physicality of these practices was very apparent. And obviously, Kyle went out and added guys like Justin Brazeau, Connor Clifton, et cetera, to have physical components to their game. But do you want this team to be physical in nature? I ask because that has been the Team City characteristic in recent years.
I want this. We want this team to be competitive in nature. I think physicality is part of the game. Like, you hate to see anything like that in practice. You hate to see it in game. You hate to see it, period. And so you don't like seeing that. But we do want to be competitive. And so, obviously, in practice, there's and games. There's a line there, and you got to make sure. You're not to cross that line, and you don't want to see anybody get hurt. And as I mentioned, Kevin's being evaluated, but we do want to be competitive. And I think everybody's competitiveness is going to look a little bit different. And so there's got to be purpose to what you're doing. This isn't just a run around, anything like that. And I don't think that was the case if you look at the 3 practices. I do think that there was purpose to what guys are doing, and we're asking guys to show the best version of their compete, whatever that is, and that's not going to change.
Josh on the right.
And we talked about the dynamic when you were hired of a guy such as yourself who has a lot of experience working with young players. You also on this team have a bunch of guys in their late 30s who are going to be in the Hall of Fame. It's an interesting dynamic for you as a first-time head coach. What has your relationship been like in the early stages with Sid, Gino, Chris, Eric? What has it been like getting to know them? How comfortable do you feel you are with them so far?
No, I feel comfortable, for sure. I think it's been good. It's a start, though. It's like to come in and say, we've tried to make sure we've had conversations, multiple conversations, throughout the summer, getting a chance to meet with a great majority of those guys that you mentioned in person, at some point in time. A lot of guys were in town, so that makes it a little bit easier. And so, but now it continues to build. It's like you got to continue those conversations, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not off of, this time, no matter what. Like, we got to continue to build on those, continue to work on those. It's a work in progress, but for them and for the entire group, it's been great getting to know them, and some really good people, some really good human beings.
You worked towards becoming an NHL head coach for 15 years or whatever it was, and I know you had your hands full out there in practice when you were really engaged, but was there a moment out there today where you just kind of allowed yourself to kind of soak that moment in and say, hey, this is happening, here I am, NHL head coach?
A little. I mean, you always, I think it's more, honestly, it's just the excitement of training camp. Like yes, obviously it's exciting, and you've been looking forward to this day. I've been looking forward to this day. I think our staff has been for a long time now, really since the entire staff's come together. And so, there's all this preparation that happens, and all these meetings, and all these different things that you're of course working towards that day one, and that, because you got to start with something. And so it's day one, and so I just think of all the meetings that put this staff through, and the ideas that were shared, and so it's exciting more than anything. I think probably the big ones for me is that kind of the combination of skating around with guys like that have been in this league for 20 plus years, and talking a little bit with a couple of them about especially with Malkin and Letang, this is their 20th training camp. Like how cool is that? And then you turn, the next shift you grab, one of the guys that's coming into their first training camp ever. It's like, your first training camp, how cool is this? Like, how lucky are we? It's cool to see their reactions too, and kind of see where they're at. And but I thought, today was a day about just making sure that we, kind of set that foundation and set that groundwork. And there's been a lot of preparation to get ready, not just for today, but for the season. And so I think for everybody on the coaching staff, it's just an excitement that we're getting going, and I thought the players felt the same way too.
Dan on the right.
Dan, you begin camp with 20-some forwards who could play in the NHL, at least half a dozen right-handed defensemen. How do you find space for everyone to get maybe a fair or an honest look in such a crowded situation?
We're gonna, there's a lot of players at camp. We talked about that with the group yesterday. It's like, you can't come in here and say, hey, all things are equal in terms of ice time and exhibition games. But we are going to do our best to give everybody an opportunity to, at a minimum, earn an impression. And I do feel pretty strongly that, even if you look at today, there was a lot of opportunity out there for guys to go out there and, show what they can do. They be noticed. And I think that opportunity was there, and we're gonna work to continue to have it there. And so it's a balance of, trying to provide that while setting kind of that, today the big part of it was about setting the foundation for like how we want to practice, how we want to train. There wasn't any systems in there. There was nothing systematic. But there's got to be their habits and details that we feel are important, and use that as a starting point. And then as we go over these next couple of days, now we're going to be building in, a little bit more in terms of, how we want to play, how we want to pressure the puck, how we want to attack. We'll keep building in as we go. But I think throughout that, we're also, we want to see guys. We want to see who's going to, make themselves noticed, and give them that opportunity. And so while I do think it's going to potentially look a little bit different for everybody, I do think that it's going to be there for them.
Taylor in the front right.
Talking about making an impression, I know you're in Buffalo for the Prospects Challenge. Just want to know, of those young guys, what were your takeaways? Did anyone stand out in particular?
Well, I think I'll talk about the entire group. And one of the takeaways, I thought they did a really good job in terms of competing. The games were all really different, like in terms of what you were seeing. And that happens. That's hockey. Like you go from one game to the next, one opponent to the next. Like the playing style is very different. The Columbus game was very, very physical. They go down and it's like, okay, well, who's going to respond? Who's going to do something? Who's going to go out there and kind of maybe change the momentum a little bit? And you get to see that. And it's for me, it's always interesting to see that. But I thought they did a really good job in terms of like being competitive. And we got a number of those guys in the camp, and so I think there's guys within that group that earned an opportunity to be here. That I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have otherwise. And so rather than actually highlighting any particular ones, since they're here now and continuing to compete, I'll talk about the group as a whole. I thought they did a good job. I thought their coaching staff there, Kirk and his group, did a good job of getting those guys prepared. And I think now you're seeing some of those younger players that are feeling pretty good about where they're at coming into this main camp, which is part of it, definitely part of it.
Justin in the middle.
Kyle Dubas earlier alluded to some pretty long days and long evenings on your part over the last couple weeks. What have these last few weeks looked like for you and your staff as far as laying the groundwork for today, and just what are some of the main things that have occupied your attention as far as preparing for today in camp?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to prioritize. I mean, as a coaching staff, like I think we wanted people that are going to. I wouldn't say hard work. It's bring that passion. I love what you're doing, and so when you're doing that, which I think our group does, it might end up being a little bit longer days, and which we've had. But it's been going through everything. It's when you have a new coaching staff like this, there's a lot of conversation because I don't want it. It won't be just about me, about my ideas. Like that's. It's about like us having conversations about the game. It's about us, this time of year you got a whole new coaching staff. It's about, all right, let's try to firm up some of our language. They like adding some of those things too, so there's consistency. And we've talked about everything. We talked about, number one, you go back to development camp. We spend a significant amount of time, during that camp. Whenever we weren't watching those players, we were meeting. And so, we'll go through that process. We were able to get a starting point. And then, everybody had things to do over the summer. Everybody had projects that they were doing. Everybody had different things that they were looking at. And then you take those things back once we get it together at the end of the summer. And, you have now an opportunity to review it and go over it. And that takes time. And so we're looking at it from a team standpoint. We're looking at it from, the things that are really important to us. Because what's important to us might be different. It might be not as important, and not the exact same list as somebody else, and that's fine. We're looking at individuals, going through that. We're looking at special teams. We're looking at all those things that are going to come up and need to be reviewed and need to be detailed during training camp. It's going to set our base. Practices, how we train, and so it ends up being a lot for sure. But it's also, like I said, it's no point to really feel like work. I think we got a group with our coaching staff, and I'd say this with the staff, the whole organization here, people that love the game, that love teaching the game, that love being a part of this, and obviously are very excited to be here and start to kind of build out that foundation for what we're looking to build.
Couple more. Will on the left.
Dan, what's your philosophy when you have a roster filled with players at such various stages of your career? You got guys that are just trying to find a foothold here. You got guys, as Josh said, that are going to the Hall of Fame. When you're a new staff, do you try to build a relationship with the veteran guys first and have them sort of maybe try to set the have a trickle down to the rest of the roster, or do you try to make sure that you kind of spread your time maybe more as evenly as possible?
Oh, I think I would say, definitely, early on, the players that have been here for a long time and have accomplished some amazing things in this game, like leadership group, like I'm reaching out and I'm having maybe a little bit more conversations early on for sure, but on a day-to-day, there's not a checklist that you come in with. Again, like I gotta go talk to, these players first and then these players next. We want to form relationships with everybody. Like it's across the board. Like that's massive. And as I mentioned before, it takes time. Like everybody, everybody's different. Everybody's gonna learn different. Everybody's gonna be motivated differently. You got to get to know the person first. And so, as a staff, we're looking to do that with, everybody here. Obviously, training at a camp like this, there's so many guys that do you get as many those more in-depth conversations with everybody that you want? No, but you do try to make sure to, even here today, just getting to talk to some guys that might be on a PTO, it's important. They're here, they're a part of it, and so. I think I speak for the entire staff. It's important. Obviously, the highest amount of respect there for players that have been doing this for a long time in the game. And we want to ask them questions and get their opinion, but we want to be forming relationships and getting to know everybody here.
Josh in the back left.
Thank you, Dan. Looking at practice today, I know you talked a lot about trying to show the team how you wanted the Penguins to practice. It looked like there was a lot of competition within that practice, and talking to some of the guys in the room, I think they said score was kept on a lot of the drills, and the losing team had to skate or whatnot in between. Just how much did you want that to be kind of the mindset that you would instill in this team, I guess, right off the bat here in this camp within those drills?
Yeah, I love competition. I think everybody loves competition. It just drives things. So that was definitely a part of it. And so, I believe in it. I think these are all competitive guys. It's all of them. They want to win, and it's. I've always found it just to be just awesome seeing it at this level. How it doesn't matter what's on the line. If something's there, if it's one push-up, they would be all in to not have to do that one push-up. Like this group here, I think if I put a cold cheeseburger for the winner, they would be all in to get that cold cheeseburger. Everything, they'd be all in. It's just that's in the nature. And they did a good job with it today. That wasn't. It's you never know until you're actually there. It's the hope that you're going to see the group be all in and but I wasn't surprised. Yeah, no, they were all in there on the competition and it's I think it's a big part of it though. It's a big part of what our coaching staff believes in.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you.